that's been following along on our after movies thing. We always have a drink, but I'm not drinking. So that'll change up a little bit. So mine will be non-alcoholic for a while. So
How long are you not drinking for?
I don't know. The last time I drank, I
See?
felt so sick. I just don't like, not even sick from. It just didn't feel well. So I'm just gonna wait and see. I don't know. I just
Good for you, man. When I was in Pittsburgh, I also refrained from drinking. Drank just went to the bar for a surprise party and drank water all night and felt great the next day. So
Yeah, I'm just, you get to the point where you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. So I'm just like, you know what,
yeah.
I'm good for right now. I probably will again.
Well,
Like it's not like I'm doing it for any other reason. It's just I'm like I felt so gross. I'm like I'm good. So my drinks will be non-alcoholic, ladies and gentlemen. So if there's any non-drinkers, hey, we're here to appease.
Jim me up with your best mocktail recipes.
Dude, I'll tell you the rise of people like not drinking but wanting to have an experience at a bar is so crazy. They make so many like non-alcoholic spirits now, so you can actually have like a crafted drink as opposed to
Right?
just like O'Doul's and stuff like that. Your non-alcoholic beer like Seedlip, not to throw in like 1,000 sponsors because we're not sponsored by anybody, but like Seedlip, when I was managing in my other life, managing bars, that was our choice. They had stuff you could make an old fashioned with. It was really cool. Expensive, very expensive, but very cool.
And what a great experience Seedlip is,
Mm.
so much to offer. I just hope that I'm sorry, excuse me, our viewers will purchase some Seedlip products and let us know what kind of Seedlip craft cocktails and concoctions they're making at home while they watch our Seedlip program after the movies.
The next episode, there's gonna be like instead of this forest, it's gonna be a seedlip.
Hell yeah!
But hey,
Speaking of after the movies,
if anybody wants to sponsor after the movies, you can contact me at jlombardo at lomo-media.com. I'd
hey,
love
we'll
to.
give you a deal if you want to sponsor at the movies too. We'll cut you a deal. Just anything. I don't care who it is. Oh, you just hop on the train. All right. Speaking of after the movies, the Lomo Lounge is open after 3 long weeks. We are back to work, and I'm drinking a Red Bull. And I don't know if that's a good choice because I did get my second vaccine today. We talked about this on at the movies. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna stay hydrated. I just needed a little
Hey,
pick me up. I feel like I got a brain fog.
that's all you can do, buddy.
So so I'm caffeinated. I'm ready to go. The lounge is open, and today we are inviting George Romero and an old man to the bar as we discuss his lost film Amusement Park, recently restored for Shudder. This immediately caught my attention because the idea of a lost film is very cool. And if you read the details about this particular lost film, this is just it's fascinating to me for multiple reasons. I'll say
Yeah.
that. So let's get into it. Let me pull up my research here. We can cut this out. Just wanted to get the budget correct. And the date. All right. The amusement park, a 1973 educational film. This was the first thing that I did not know about this. And the second thing I didn't know is that it is Romero's only work for hire piece. Two things that make it very interesting to me because he was originally paid by a Lutheran church to make an educational film about elder abuse. And elder abuse is not funny, but what is funny is going to a prominent horror director and saying, will you make us this educational film, please? And him being like, why, yes, certainly. And of course, what he turns in is a nightmare and not a typical educational film at all.
No, this film
J-
is a legitimate nightmare. Like it's a nightmare. Not like the film itself. I mean, technically, like fine, but just it was like experiencing a nightmare. It was insane.
I can't think of anything else to compare it to, honestly.
I don't
So
want
we're
it.
going to talk about
I don't want
You
it to.
know?
I don't want to compare it to anything else because it's like let this
Yeah.
live on its own. It deserves it.
It's only 50 minutes long, so it's a quick watch, and I like that. I like long movies, but you know what? Recently, I had it. We'll talk about this maybe at the end of the episode. I watched a movie. It was only an hour and like 45 minutes, and it felt like 4 hours. It was one of the worst viewing experiences I've had ever, and I would like to talk about it a little bit. But so after that uh, event, I've been appreciating short movies lately.
Mm,
And I don't even know that you call this a movie. I mean, it's a film. It's an educational film, and so it starts off with Lincoln Mazel, who is our lead actor, and he is giving a speech. Bookended. He bookends the movie with a speech about what it's like to be elderly and the kind of things that elderly people experience and the kind of struggles and difficulties that they experience. Um, Something you and I talked about when we were watching this is that this is a much more prominent topic of conversation now. And I wasn't alive in the 70s, so I couldn't tell you, but I would have to guess that this was maybe not at the forefront of the news or of social people. I don't know if people were thinking about this as much back then, but it seems maybe like it was more necessary, then.
yeah, it's just it was crazy. I think it just is something like personally. I don't know why, but like I don't know why every time like, and if this was like an actual like movie that was designed to be a movie, I don't think I would have felt this way. But like knowing that like those people in that film in 1973, I don't know why, because I think it's because I'm such a history buff. Like I like experiencing history. Just knowing that those people who aren't actors, the only actor in this film was who you mentioned, Lincoln. Like there's no other actors; these are volunteers, and knowing that they were like most of them were born in like the late 1800s, which is interesting to think about.
Definitely,
Like I just like
definitely,
that like time stamp, that time capsule of like seeing an event that like I personally would never experience.
definitely, yeah. A lot of cool, notable stuff about this. What I want to say off the bat is that it is filmed in Pittsburgh, or near, very near Pittsburgh, I
It's
would say.
Pittsburgh. I'm a said West View, which is close. So
And so is Night of the Living Dead, and so is Dawn of the Dead. People talk about that all the time. The Monroeville Mall, the cemetery from Night of the Living Dead. So it is cool to see him stay local. Um, Another big thing for me that I thought was very interesting is this film is filled with extras because obviously they are at an amusement park. Um, a lot of people of color in this film, even just in the background as extras, some lines of dialogue, which I think is notable. Not to go. I don't want people to think that this is like some shoehorned talk about diversity, but it's notable specifically because George Romero famously casted a black lead for Night of the Living Dead during a time where that didn't really happen.
mm-hmm.
And so big for not only film, but big for horror in general and black horror. And it's not like Night of the Living Dead is a black horror film. It's just a great horror film. And he was breaking some social taboos at that time that needed to be broken. So that was something that stuck out to me that I thought was very cool. Um, so this movie, we start with Lincoln's character, the old man, in a white room, and he is dressed like Colonel Sanders. And there's he references to chicken later, and I was like, maybe he is Colonel Sanders. I don't know.
Well, I think the white is
Um,
designed to make him stand out, whatever
Definitely.
reason.
And you picked this up right off the bat. I left my glasses in Pittsburgh, so I could not tell. I thought there was a different man in the room with him.
No,
It turns out he is in the room with himself
I was wondering why you
at the
didn't
beginning of
answer
the
me
film.
back when I said like it was cool how they like showed like the full circle, like
Right,
it's just like a
right.
loop, and you just didn't say anything, and I was like, oh, okay. Then like later you were like,
Yeah,
oh, I was like, oh, you
I
didn't
was
get it.
like, oh, I was like, it's just like another guy in there that's like, don't go out there. So he's in this room, and for me, I think that room represents life. I don't know. I was thinking it represents life before and after um, dementia, before and after experiencing these things, because it's where he starts, and at the beginning, his mind seems fresh before he goes out into the world. He seems a lot more put together before the world, but part of that too is that the world brutalizes him as soon as he leaves. He's talking to himself. He goes, I think I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna go out there and experience it for myself. So he goes out into the amusement park, which is by all means just a metaphor for the world at large. And we are watching it through the eyes of someone experiencing dementia or some kind of mental difficulties, and that is why he's seeing it as an amusement park. And there's all kinds of bizarre like equivalents. There's a part where they're in the bumper cars,
Yep.
and there's another old couple, and the old couple gets rear-ended by this young man, and then a police officer shows up and starts taking insurance information and all this stuff, and you're like, oh, it's bumper cars, and it's like, well, no, it's real life. This is old people driving, and the old man gets his license revoked, and the cop doesn't really believe. Lincoln's character tries to come to their aid and say like, oh, the young man is the one that hit them, and the cop's like, look, I wasn't here to see it. I just got to write down what happened. So you start to very quickly see people kind of just dismissing old people, the elderly.
I think it was interesting, like to get into the amusement park to get your tickets for everything. Like they had what I can only assume is somebody taking advantage of the elderly because, like, obviously, especially back then and even now, like how little like money is left. Like if you're not like very careful with like what you do,
Yeah.
so like every cent counts. So a lot of times they like start selling. They sell their houses, they sell family heirlooms, they sell stuff just to like survive. And there's
Right.
people that take advantage of them. Where he's like, the best I can do is five, if like $5. Best I can do is $1, and they know it's worth more, but they need all the money. So they're like, fine, I'll take $5, but I know this isn't right. And he's like, all right, I know, here, and then just get going. So
Yep.
everything does represent something.
And very quickly, I think something that I really stood out to me about this was the sound design, which is not something typically I would pull from a film in the 70s, but the chatter of the people around him and the sound of the rides and everything that's happening in this amusement park becomes very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then there are moments of like total silence as well. So it's got this really good contrast between those two things, and it makes you feel and think about, for somebody with these mental difficulties, what it's like to be truly confused and not understand the things that are happening around you. Um, and there's a lot of social context stuff too, like it really pulls at you. Like this movie is not the feel good romp of the summer. This movie will make you feel like shit in a good way. It's a good film. It's interesting. It's worth watching.
If you don't feel bad afterward watching this film, you're a shitty fucking person. That's all I'm saying. Like
Right.
if this doesn't make you feel bad for like you're an absolute terrible person, and I don't care if you want to argue with that or not. I really don't.
What made me really feel for him was this longing for human connection that he has, and so he sees like he's trying to be, just a nice, playful guy with these kids. There's like a group of kids, and at one point he sees this little girl who's having a picnic with her mom, and he goes over, and all he wants to do is read her this book because he just misses this idea of a person, especially in a retirement home that has limited company and doesn't see people often. All he wants to do is like have this connection with a person, and immediately gets accused, not like accused, but this guy comes out, he's like, what are you, some kind of pervert, like get away from those kids, like it's just everything he does is miss what's the word I'm looking for, is
Construed.
misconstrued. Yes. It's like I forgot what I was saying. We're gonna have to edit this.
That happened to me earlier.
Everything he does gets misconstrued. It's very sad. Um, fuck, what was I gonna say? Motherfuck, this is a blooper. The blooper, bitch. I don't know. Anyways, the film itself, from a technical standpoint, it's also very, again, somewhat funny, but very interesting to see him tackle a movie like this with the same visual style and the same motives that he has as a horror director. So like the same kind of shots, the same atmosphere. It is like a George Romero film. It's like watching one. The shots that I picked out mostly were like the shots that were on the roller coaster, like in front of the people in the front seat. I was looking at that a lot. Um, and this is just 50 minutes of unrelenting watching a person just be put down over and he's mugged at one point. I said something about like, oh, like George Romero's movies are so violent, but not this one. And as soon as
As
I
soon as
sent
you
you that
said that,
message,
he gets beat up by a group of
he
bikers.
gets beat up by a group of bikers. And there is this loop thing at the end of the film where he returns to the room and he is the man that in the room at the beginning of the film that's saying, "Don't go out there. You don't want to go out there. There's nothing for you there." Um, and the film is bookended with another speech from Lincoln Maisel just talking about how this is kind of not a guarantee, but for a lot of people, it will be. This is where a lot of people will end up, and that we should treat these people with sympathy and empathy. And um, I would say that like horror, you and I talked about this, and I'm a horror guy. People are afraid of the unknown, so we watch The Conjuring, God help us. And so there's movies about ghosts and devils and demons and ooh, what's in the dark?
Yeah, but
And
that's
this
just
is a
like
movie that is right.
it's just
But
so overdone. Like, I mean, at this point, like it's just so like I don't know. This is where we might differ,
this
but
is
I just feel like every horror movie, someone's like, "Oh, we got to put like a monster. We got to put something in there, a ghost, something." But it's like maybe there's a trend now where like doing horror is like really just like experiencing real life horror. Like I don't think anybody wants to go through it. I mean, watching this film, whatever you like, ate ate me. Like it just like destroyed
yeah.
me. And it was mostly because of like my past and like being a kid and seeing my grandpa in a nursing home and seeing him struggle with dementia and like experiencing that and then like having all those thoughts come up again as I'm like watching this movie of already a topic that already like makes me upset. Like when people
Right.
don't like take care of like their parents or take care, like really just upsets me. And it's just like I was just like sitting here, I was watching here, and I was like, I'm
We
getting
we
angry.
put people we throw people away. It's
Hmm.
it's very it's an issue. And when I was growing up, so here I guess my small little spiel would be that growing up, I did not like going to the nursing home because it did frighten me as a child. Because there are a lot of confused people there. There's a lot of people with issues. And I don't blame myself. I don't really feel bad because I was a
You
child. Like I
shouldn't.
didn't
It's
know any
scary.
better.
I was scared as a child too, man. Like it's not. You
But what
shouldn't.
you realize when you get older is that like obviously it's not their fault either. What you realize is that this is a byproduct of a society that lets people live their life until they're no longer of use and then puts them away
Yep.
and does not offer them the help that they need in order to try to avoid these things and to try to stay cognitive and to try to stay aware, self-aware, and keep those faculties. People don't care, and not that the workers. It's not even a thing where it's like the workers don't care because I know lots of people. Jess works at a retirement home. I mean, there's a lot or a nursing home rather. There's a lot of workers that do care about these people, but they're not given the tools that they need to properly.
Or the funding, the
Right.
tools, any of that stuff. I mean, they're so or thin all the time.
Yeah. So this is just this is an existential horror, and it is. I would go off. I mean, that exists. There are people that make stuff like that, but I would say that this is pretty unlike anything I've ever seen before. So in that sense, from both a filmmaking standpoint and just from a like, this is something you should watch to kind of keep you in check and make you think. I think that I would definitely recommend this film. I can't say that I'm going to watch it again anytime soon because it is pretty harrowing stuff, and not because it's it's so funny because it's not brutal. It's not like an R-rated film. It's not like anything happens that you couldn't show a teenager. Like it's this movie could be rated PG-13 if you wanted it to. There's not really any content that is an issue. It is just extremely harrowing subject matter,
Yeah.
pretty much, and the way that it makes you feel is very effective. Um, it just is. It's from knowing George Romero. I guess it just makes it very interesting to see how he operates. He's given this money to make an educational film, and in my opinion, knocks it out of the park. It's obviously a little more edgy than they had probably bargained for when they had him do it, but it is definitely effective in terms of making people think about and empathize with others.
So how do you
So
so like I want to put you in a I want to make you George Romero, okay?
you're gonna put me in the amusement park, Jimmy? Don't put me in the amusement park.
It's time to go, buddy. No,
No.
I want you to be George Romero, and you know, your whole entire career you've made films that like you want to be known for, and you know that you made this, but you know in your lifetime you're like, yeah, it was something I made, and like to you it was just a job. And now what's that? 50 50 years later now?
Yeah, almost.
Um
Easy.
it's now streaming as a quote unquote horror film. Like how do you think that feels? Like how do you think that
Yeah.
would make Romero feel like right now? Do you think that's something he would have ever wanted? Or do you think he would have
I
rather it just
I think so.
stayed where it
I think
was?
so. I guess so. My major the only reason that I struggle to answer that question is because I don't know how he felt about the film.
Mhm.
Um, I can tell you from my standpoint that I think it's effective and brilliant, but I don't know how he felt about it being a job, a film. Um, but what I would say is he's a horror director, specialized in horror films. I think that he, of all people, in terms of prominent horror filmmakers, would understand that horror is not just zombies or ghosts or ghouls. It is things that terrify us, things that scare us. And this is a movie that does scare you. And I think that I would hope at least I think horror has been a reductive term for a long time. People like horror movies don't go for Academy Awards. Like um, people don't really think about those movies, and there are a lot of movies like Hereditary or Get Out that deserve more recognition for what
Yep.
they do as a film, not just a horror movie but a film. Um, so I would not be personally, if I was George Romero, I would not be upset about it being called a horror film. I would just probably want that context there for people so that they know why it was made and why it's 50 minutes long and that it was made on a budget and that its intent was to make people think and care more.
I guess for
Um,
me personally, I don't want it to ever lose its true focus, and it's not up to me. And if you're watching this, my biggest thing, and this is probably about to be as serious I get on anything we do, but please at least like understand that every single one of us will like, if you're making it to the end, you're gonna need help, so like help those now. Like there's no point to
ah,
like complete, like if you see somebody that needs help moving something or you're elder, like help them out, man. Like come on. Like it would just be such a better, like don't, I don't know. Don't treat your grandparents like shit because one day they won't be here. Don't treat your parents as they age. Like, be there for them. Like, that's all you got to do, man. That's it.
no, I completely agree. I think that this is probably, again, so from a film standpoint,
My shirt's
uh,
on inside out.
Jimmy, is your shirt inside out?
Oops.
Jimmy, I gotta take you to the amusement park, bud. Uh, um, I would recommend this film definitely, and I would not watch it again for just for fun. It's not a fun thing to watch, but it is an experience, and it is one that I think is beneficial. I think it is, from a filmmaking standpoint, technically well done, and again, I've never seen anything quite like it. So I would
Uh-huh.
recommend this film. His wife did oversee the restoration of it, so at least somebody from his estate was involved in terms of making
Well, that
sure it
makes
turned
me
out
feel
the way.
better. That makes me feel better.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's
don't
good.
I don't think it's one of those situations where somebody just like paid for it and dug it up and put it out as is. I think there was some work and heart and craft that went into it. So, um, oh man, the amusement park streaming on Shutter now. Prepare yourself because you're gonna want to have like a day to chill out. You know, maybe make a tiki drink after this movie or something. Maybe put on some yacht rock and maybe just think about we get in the pool or think about something nice after watching this movie.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
So how where are we at on time?
27 minutes.
All right, let's talk. Let's do some recommendations real quick.
Mhm.
Let's end this with some recommendations because it's been 3 weeks. I watched movies aplenty since then, and I've got some that I loved and some that I didn't love so much. Um, so before I get there, I want to toss it to you. Is there anything that you've watched recently? I know that you went to go see Fast and Furious 9, my friend.
Yeah, I guess.
Like,
Yeah, I thanks for putting me on blast there. So, yeah, anyways, I guess whatever. We'll start with me, I guess. So, I went and visited some friends, and one of the first like big like on Friday night, we they wanted to go see the new Fast and Furious movie, F9.
F9.
F9. Yeah. And it was good. I mean, obviously I'm still in that like being happy to be in a theater and having the theater experience, and I was able to drink in this movie theater. So it was kind of good and cool, but man, they are and it's so if they weren't so self-aware, I would hate
It would
everything
just be
about it.
awful,
I would
right?
hate it. But they make fun of themselves so much throughout this movie, it almost makes me go, okay. But it was absolutely ridiculous. I don't want to spoil it for you, but man, holy
Uh,
the shit
got
that
a
was
couple of
going on.
questions.
And I'm just like, how is this person able to do this thing? How is that thing able to go to this place? And how
Right?
the hell is
Doesn't
he
matter.
how
Doesn't
like
matter.
it like opens with like Dom like whipping through and the bridge collapsed. They're like, oh no, and he like drifts and hooks the like cable from the bridge and then swings around a whole freaking mountain. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
what?
So a couple of questions. This is the one where they go to space, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Is a space? Is it a prominent? Is it a space movie?
No.
Is space prominent, or does
Nope.
it just happen? Is it like one thing that happens?
They shoot Ludacris up into space.
That's already the best thing that you could say without context. They
And then
shoot Ludacris into
they,
space. Luda.
somehow the mechanic from earlier in the film knows how to drive a huge plane. That like then they shoot the rocket car that blew up not even 20 minutes earlier in the film. They shoot that off into space and then boom, Ludacris and I'm sorry, but I forget the other actor's name, and they're fighting a satellite. So I don't know. I don't know what to think. It
Okay.
was all
All
over the
right.
place.
Now, have you seen the other Fast and Furious films?
Yeah, I mean I've seen probably the first couple. I don't know if I don't know. I've seen them like little bits and pieces here and there.
Sporadically.
It seems like a lot of people I know like them, and it seems like I'm always
Yeah.
somewhere where they like somebody's watching them. So I think I've seen. I probably didn't see like the last one or maybe even 7, but I've seen the majority of them.
Did you have difficulty following? Does the story matter? Do you have to have any kind of context for this movie
No,
at all?
no, you don't need any. No,
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. So if you want,
there's
it
like
sounds
no,
like
there's no even like nobody's like racing in this film either. Like for it being like a racing movie franchise, nobody's racing.
I don't think anybody's raced in these movies since Tokyo Drift. I feel like that was the last one where there was
Dude,
a
the
race.
funniest part was is they're like fighting for something. They're like drifting through like the jungle. That all of a sudden like you just see John Cena in a car, and I'm just like,
Forgot that he was in this one.
yep.
I forgot that he was in this one. So it sounds like if you want to go to the movies and see like a movie theater movie and just like have popcorn and watch like a very over the top, spectacular thing. This sounds like maybe not a stern recommendation in the sense of like how good of a film it is, but it sounds like you had a pretty good time. You'd recommend it if people just want to go for that, right?
Take your kids to go see it. Enjoy the movie. Have fun. Do a little family activity. Go out to dinner.
Family,
Family. Oh God.
family. Yeah. Um, was there anything else you watched over the past few weeks? Is there anything that stands out in terms of things you've watched or enjoyed that you would recommend or not recommend explicitly to our audience?
I've been fairly busy over the last couple of weeks. I didn't really watch anything. I did watch new Loki show on Disney. I've been watching.
Okay.
I've been keeping up with that. That's pretty neat. I really like those shows more. Like I'm not gonna say more than the movie, but like those shows are pretty cool, man. For like TV shows and like seeing like Owen Wilson in it and stuff like that. It's pretty neat.
Ah,
It's pretty cool what they're doing.
I'm not a huge. Shouldn't say I'm not a Marvel fan. It's just that I don't really rush to watch these things. Like I'm not running to the theater to see Black Widow right now. Like I'll see it when I see it, and I'll probably enjoy it, but I'm like not like dying to
The
see it.
only thing I've seen on
Uh,
Black Widow so far, not to interrupt you, but like there was like a like obviously one of the green screen scenes and someone on
yeah.
Twitter, I was like, what the hell? They filmed this on Zoom?
That's funny. That's good.
And it cracked me
I,
up.
I I've heard good things about Loki though, and I'll tell you what, I do like the Thor universe more than I like other parts of the MCU. So this might be something that's up my alley.
Yeah, it's cool,
I
man.
just don't know. I don't know if I know enough about the Marvel universe as a whole in terms of him interacting with other characters that I would have a hard time following.
I don't think you would, man. I think you'd be fine. I don't think you really need to
Okay,
know much.
we'll give that a go then. I've got three that I want to talk about. We'll do the good ones first, and then we'll do the bad one first. I watched a movie called Come True. It is on Hulu. It is a Cronenberg looking sci-fi film about or sci-fi horror film about a sleep study where they study people in sleep paralysis and the shadow figures that they see. Um, the film visually is very interesting. Like I said, Cronenberg style, a lot of like equipment, a lot of like people wearing like headsets that look very like retro future kind of thing. So it's nice to look at. However, this movie is an hour and 45 minutes long. It felt like it was 4 hours. I checked the time once every 20 minutes because
Ah, it doesn't
nothing
pass the Jimmy test then.
and does not pass the Jimmy test. Nothing happens in this movie. There's the first half is okay. There is an excellent scene. There's one excellent moment that is genuinely scary, very scary. And I was like, okay, this is it. Like it's popping off. And then a number of things happen that totally pull you out of it. The first one being she gets stalked by one of the girl in the sleep study gets stalked by one of the guys in the sleep study, and even though they have zero chemistry, they end up falling in love. Even though she doesn't like this guy, and she's like, "You're stalking me," and she goes back to his house, and they have these machines you can watch what a person is dreaming, like visually see it. And he's having a dream about her, and it's a very sweet moment. And the director's own music for his electro band plays in the background, and it just totally takes you out of the movie. Then the and I'm not like, look, there's some weird stuff. There's some weird context, and I'm not trying to be here on Creep Patrol, but there is a scene where they're in a car. He says like, "You're in high school," and she's like, "I'm 18, you know." And they literally just set it up so that they can go back to his place and fuck. This guy's like in his probably like late 20s, early 30s, and you're like, they literally had a scene in a car just so that they could set up her saying like, "I'm 18." Like I know I'm in high school, but I'm 18, so that they could have sex. And it totally just takes you out of this movie.
Wouldn't it have been better to
Um
like stop at like a I don't know. At least as far as like if I was writing that, which I never would, like just let the record show. Like I don't want to write something like that. But wouldn't it be
Look, she
better?
could have been in college. Why did she have to be in high school? This doesn't come up at all.
But if
There's
you're
no
worried,
reason.
but if you're worried about establishing age in a movie, why can't you just stop at a mini mart or a convenience store, have the cashier card her, and then be fine?
Right.
And
She
then
buys cigarettes
yeah,
or
and then that
something. Like,
establishes, and then as you as a viewer go, oh, she's 18, and you don't have to
right,
tell. You don't.
at least.
Yeah,
And she doesn't have to give a specific age.
yeah.
She
You
could be
don't
like,
have
oh,
to.
like
You don't have
maybe
to.
she's
You're like, oh, what? Why'd you do? Why do you have
right.
to put that in?
It felt like the setup to a porn where a girl's like, I'm 18. And you're just like,
It's like
ugh.
drifting the car back.
So this movie just I've never had seen a movie that's so uneven in terms of being like pretty quality up to the halfway point and then nuking, like just absolutely tanking any interest I had in it. One of the most frustrating viewing experiences I've had in a long time. But I want to focus on the negatives. I got two that I want to plug real quick that I love. I rented this movie called Censor. Came out recently. Would have been great for after the movies, and who knows? Maybe we'll cover it. But um, it is about a British censor in the 80s whose job is to watch horror films and determine what they can show the public and what they can't. And it's, man, after Come True, this movie was a breeze. It's like 80 minutes flat. It is so quick. It is on top of that, the writing is great. It is unpredictable. There's twists and turns. Her sister went missing when she was a kid, and she ends up watching a film that starts to make her question whether her sister is still alive. It is well paced. It is original. The lighting looks great. It's got some like John Carpenter stuff going on. Just something totally unique and fast and refreshing. And I absolutely loved it. So I couldn't recommend that more. That is available on video on demand for rent right now. I think it's like $6. So I recommend that. The other one is I recently revisited the Amityville Horror, the
Oh,
original
nice,
film.
nice, nice, nice.
Uh, Maybe my favorite supernatural horror movie ever, and that includes The Exorcist. And that's, I'm not saying it's like a better film or whatever, but for me personally, well paced. James Brolin and Margot Kidder, great performances. It's very interesting because it comes 6 years after The Exorcist and 1 year before The Shining, but it does a lot of the same stuff that The Shining does a year before The Shining did it. So it does the thing where the dates come up and it says like Saturday, the seventh day, where they're at this home and the home is kind of infecting him and turning him crazy and making him want to kill his family. And it kind of splits the difference between the two movies. It's got some supernatural stuff. It's got this husband who's slowly losing his mind. Um, and it's got some genuine scares in it. I mean, a lot of those movies are kind of slow builds, but we just watched The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, and watching a movie like that and then watching this just makes you realize like how in debt that series is to films like this and how much better films like this are.
You know what's funny is like that was our least liked film and also our least viewed. Uh,
Oh yeah, I know. It's not doing well. I'll have to try to get people to watch. I'm gonna have to do some more sharing.
I was
But
like,
I don't.
I was like, wow, I was like, wow, our Conjuring podcast tanked as much as that movie did. I'm like, it's fitting.
People who saw the movie don't want to hear anyone talk about it. That podcast is for people that are like, maybe I should watch this, and then it's 40 minutes of us going, don't watch this. So I don't know, but watch the Amityville Horror. It's streaming on Prime, I think. It's Prime or HBO Max. It's one of the two. But if you just want a good old school ghost story, if you want to remember like how classic horror movies were and how effective they were and how much influence they've had on horror now, it's a great time. So highly recommend that. Those are the two that I have for you. Thank you so much. We are closing the Lomo Lounge. Before we go, next week we are going to be watching The Tomorrow War, a sci-fi action throwback epic that is kind of the new Independence Day. It's got the host of one of my favorite podcasts of all time, Mike Mitchell of Doughboys. Main reason I'm watching it, but it's a Chris Pratt vehicle. Went straight to Amazon Prime, and it's about a bunch of soldiers getting recruited to fight in a war in the future.
Nice.
And who knows with this one? I think it could go either way. I think it could be a lot of just like a fun popcorn movie, or I think it could be maybe not so good. But we'll see.
I really need it after the movies that kind of makes me feel good because the last couple I want to just like rage.
Right. This is going to be brainless, I think. This is going to be mindless, and maybe that's what we need right now, you know? Um, so if you want to watch that, that's streaming on Prime. Jimmy, the time has come. George Romero and the old man are at the bar. It's last call. I easily am giving them a drink. I'm a little like bummed out. Like they're kind of bumming me out,
Yeah.
but I'm like these guys have earned their stay. That they can get a drink.
So not only am I serving them another drink, I'm giving them a ride home.
What a guy! That's a great way to judge this movie. There
Hmm.
you go. What a guy! The
Yep.
guy. I'm so glad I opened a bar with you.
I'm giving them a ride home.
Good for you, man. You're gonna charge them typical Uber prices, or are you gonna give them
It's
the
surgeon, baby. It's surgeon out there.
it's surgeon? The old man's in the back. He's like, I can only give you $5. You're like,
Give me those pearls in your pocket.
Oh man.
All right,
Till
everybody.
next time, the Loma Lounge is closed. Thank you so much for watching After the Movies. And hey, if you want to watch the movies with us, our Patreon is $3 a month. That's less than a cup of coffee. You get access to our Discord and our Patreon content. We watch 2 movies a week. That's 2 watch parties where you can
Yeah.
sync up with us, watch the films with us in real time. We'd love to have you.
And the cool thing now
Yeah.
is everything's linked up. Like we're after and at the movies are right in line with each other. We're not like off weeks, so that's actually pretty cool. So join our Patreon, like Aaron said.
Yep, we are back. We are back firing on all cylinders. So we will see you next week with another episode of both At the Movies and After the Movies. Until then, hope you have a great week, and we'll see you soon.
See you next
See
week.
you in the Tomorrow War.
Wow.